Welcome to Weekend Shelf Control with me, Liam.
And me, Frankie.
And this is part 3 of me talking about my experience at the Indie Horror Chapter 4 Liverpool event that happened on April 11th, where I attended and picked up a whole bunch of books from a whole bunch of authors. If you've seen part 1 and 2, you'll already know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, go check those out. I've already spoken about a whole bunch of great authors. I'm about to speak about a whole bunch more. And Frankie's here with coffee, just
my coffee's done. We're up to part 3, like.
That's true. Yeah. Okay, so went to Jamodi's table, of course. Picked up the last weekend. This 10 work colleagues leave behind their boring desk jobs for a team building weekend deep in the countryside. At first, Woden appears to be the eco-friendly, off-the-grid hippie commune they expect. Everyone is smiling and overjoyed to see them. The place runs in harmony as they... I don't know if this makes sense. I'm going to read it as it is. So the place runs in harmony as they through the day and night to live music at night.
Oh yeah,
I think
sounds
there's a
like
word missing.
Yeah.
Like as they
What
dance
do they
through
do through the night?
Yeah, I think dance should be there. But this is, you get these with indie published books. So then Jared's sick of his life and even sicker of his job and his colleagues. He knows that something isn't right, but his mental health issues keep him from realizing before it's too late. There is a darker side to the pagan village. Their strange ways that don't conform with the outside world, talk of children being snatched out of their beds at night, a forbidden forest where nobody returns alive, and the witch the elders are fearful of, who roams around at night. So again, there was another book that we spoke about earlier that was kind of spooky, ritual, culty, people away, travelling, visiting this place. Curious, and that's just a nice cover. Like I mentioned, so you've got Katrin and Moat and Jamodi who are married. I was at the table, I said to Jim, these are the books I have of yours, what would you recommend? And Kat was just like, get this one. This is the one that I would recommend. So I picked it up. Now, these next few are from one of my favourite authors. These are from Mark M.J. Greene, who is the author that reached out to me on TikTok and very first told me about these events. He sent me a couple of his arcs that I've reviewed on my TikTok. I have read, of his books so far, I have read, what was his first one that I read? I think his first one I read was called Do You Hear What I Hear? Which was this really fun Christmas horror book, which he sent me like an ebook copy of it, and I've been desperate to get in like a physical copy, but he hasn't been selling it. I think he said he might be updating the cover or something. But anyway, you've seen Shaun of the Dead, right?
Yes.
So you know how like the final showdown all takes place in a pub? Imagine that, but instead of zombies, it's like Krampus-esque demons. It's just so good. So that was his first book that I read. Then I read another arc of his called Jacobian, which I really liked, so I wanted to get it picked up in physical form. This is just like a very sad story of this child who is horrifically abused, and just his tale, essentially. By Mark, I've also read a book called Abortus, which is an extreme horror. It was written as part of like a competition around the book Womb, so it's kind of like somewhat inspired by that. Just a nasty book about a pregnant woman and things happening. And then I read one of my favourite reads of last year was a book called Phenomenon, which is a horror splatterpunk musical comedy. Very heavily inspired by the sort of trauma 80s movies, so like Toxic Avenger, where it is about a nun who gets involved in a toxic waste accident and develops powers. But there's also singing in it and songs. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. The book opens, and I'm saying this to try and sell the book, and I don't think it will do its job, but it was so good. With this scene of this Mother Superior, who must have been like 90 years old or something, opening up a laptop and enjoying herself to some adult material. And the way that Mark writes this sequence, just... I don't get revolted easily in books. And there was a sentence in that even I was like, oh, that's grim. That's for that alone, I have to commend the book. I will say, little anecdote from the day. I was at Mark's table talking about how much I love this book of his, and he said to me, this woman came over and started looking at his books as we were talking, and like I've got like a visual impairment, right? So I'm not good with peripherals. So I kind of clocked that she was there, but I wasn't paying too much attention. I was just focused chatting to Mark. And he was like, oh, I've just realised that another one of my books that we're talking about opens with a masturbation scene. I was like, oh, I hope that isn't my thing, where like all of my books now have to start with a masturbation scene. And I said, well, to be fair, I think all good books should start that way. I said, you know, Lord of the Rings, I think people would still be talking about that today if it started with a scene of masturbation. Which then led us to talking about which character would be the best one for that, which Mark pitched Sam, which I could say, because Mark's argument was, well, he's already peeping through windows, so that makes sense. So we were just joking and laughing. This poor woman just walked away, just quickly walked away. And Mark looked at me and he was like, do you think it was all the masturbation talk? And I was like, could have been, mate. It really could have been. But then someone else came over. They wanted to pick up, I think, Jacobian. And I was like, honestly, if you're getting that, you're going to want something light to go with it. So get Phenomenon as well. Which they did. And Mark kind of like gave me a little thank you. Because I do think that's the other thing, like, that's quite fun as a reader going here, to be like, I've read this and it's really good. Let me try and direct other people who hopefully will also find it to be really good. Another book of his that I read is called Birdsong, which was also... He tends to write either really sad, depressing books or really silly, funny, weird books. And we've got that mix here because you've got Jacobian. Then we've got Amazonian Animal Attack. Honestly, I don't even know what to say about this. I'm excited to read it. This is one of the ones that sounds more on the silly side, so I'm very curious about that. We have Late Student. I know nothing about this book. Looking at the cover, I would guess it's one of the sadder ones. And then we have, and I don't know if you're ready for this, we have Love, Socks and Death. Looking at that, do you want to have a guess at what the plot of this book might be?
That looks like the baby from Eraserhead.
Okay.
From
yeah. So I'm trying to think how to nicely describe this. There is a... What's the right word here? Presumption, let's say, that teenage boys all have a special sock. Right? This book questions what would happen if that special sock became sentient and started killing things. I can't wait to read it. I really can't. Yeah. It might have some sort of demon thing as well. I'm not sure. I'll find out when I get to it. But yeah. So I'd messaged Mark already and was like, look, I'm trying to complete my collection of your books. Please just bring whatever I don't already have. So he brought these for me. Yeah. I'm excited. Right, I'm trying to I'm running out of space. I've just got a bunch of like stuff that came, like bookmarks and things that just I need to match them up to the books that they came from. I just haven't got around to it yet, but I don't want to lose them, so they're just all together. Also, my raffle tickets, which aren't coming up on the camera. There we go. I'll talk about those at the end. So next, this is by Matthew A. Clarke. This is Incel. I feel like it's going to be obvious what this is about.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I need to go too much into it. This is, I think, I see this recommended a lot online and does tend to come up as like, these are good sort of extreme horror books to read. And that, the book I mentioned earlier by Leslie A. Camphouse, Ingest Me, had a whole like incel theme running through it. So I'm curious how this is going to kind of hold up to that book. So, yes. Picked that up. I also picked up by Tom Anderson, Cornucopia. Again, I know nothing about it. It was the only book he had on the table, so I grabbed it. This was one of like the last authors that I got to. He said that he's put a feather inside it. He said it'll make sense when you read it. So that's why there's a feather sticking out of it, and I guess I'll figure out why.
Intriguing.
Yeah. So next we have Simon Bleakin. This is The Basement of Dreams and Other Tales. It's a short story collection. I did pick up another book by Simon Bleakin at Western Supermare. I haven't got around to reading it yet, but I just thought that cover. It's intriguing.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, yeah, I figured I'd give that a go. One of the book, I mean Liverpool, right? So this was came with one of the books. Then, yes, we have 3 from the same author here. So these are all by Alexander Lane, and we have 2 of them are hardback. We have Blood Point. This is a cover that is apparently too gory for Amazon.
Oh.
It's an intriguing cover. I'm surprised that that's considered too gory for Amazon, but it's cool. It's a Nightmare Vacations novel. I'll give like the last little blurb bit. Atmospheric, terrifying, and laced with Irish folklore, Blood Point is a haunting tale of grief, love, and the monstrous cost of second chances. So that interesting.
Yeah.
Then, these all came as part of like a bundle. So I got Blood River, which is another Nightmare Vacations novel. I don't know anything about it. I don't know if it ties into the other one in any way. I don't know if they're related or just. I don't know.
Maybe
what
just like a theme.
Vacations.
Maybe it's just a.
Yeah. Exactly. But I liked the hardback. I liked the
I
cover.
do like little naked hardbacks that just have like the cover printed directly on them like that.
Yeah, exactly. So we got that, and then so this is a paperback. This is Blood Type, which is a Nightmare Vacations novella with a sort of bloody typewriter. No backspace, no escape, no return. I like that's a nice little play on words there. 6 writers, 1 secluded manor, and a typewriter that won't let you stop ever.
Oh.
So yeah, that was that pile. Let me just organise what we've got going on here. On to the next pile. So, the special guest author. I'll be honest, I hadn't heard of this name before the event, but we have Ramsey Campbell. This is Creatures of the Pool, and they had like a Q&A with him and another author that was there, Catherine Cavendish, which we'll speak about shortly. This I just thought was the most kind of interesting sounding on what he had displayed, but on like the first page you've got like pull quotes, you know, like the reviews and raves for Ramsey Campbell. So you've got a quote from Peter Straub, who he's co-written a book with Stephen King, which was, what was that book called?
Oh no, that was the sequel. Talisman, wasn't it?
Talisman, yes, and then Black House was the sequel, yes. I think, is it the ghost story that Peter Straub is famous for writing, or there is a ghost story that he's famous for writing?
I'm not too sure. I mainly know the name because, along with like James Herbert and Stephen King, it was another author that my mum had some books on the bookshelf, but I don't remember if I have read any of his books.
Okay, well, this made me curious. So another quote from this like rave for Ramsey Campbell. Campbell is literate in a field which has attracted too many comic book intellects, cool in a field where too many writers, myself included, tend toward panting melodrama. Good horror writers are quite rare, and Campbell is better than just good. Who do you think said that?
I don't know.
That's a quote from Stephen King. So I saw that and was like, okay, maybe this Ramsey Campbell guy who I've never heard of, maybe he's he's someone that I should be paying attention to. Also a quote from Alan Moore in here. Yeah, like...
I did just do a quick look up on Goodreads, and he obviously has a lot of older books, because I saw some great, like the way the old horror covers used to be. There was some really good ones.
Yeah. But yeah, so got this, and it is signed by horror legend Ramsey Campbell. So I'm just going to start claiming that I knew that all along. But yeah, again, when he was announced as a special guest, I was like, I don't know who that is. And even at the event, I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but I'll give it a go. And then when I was flicking through the book afterwards, I was like, oh, Stephen King's calling him out. Maybe I should know who he is, and that's on me. So yeah, like I said, he was interviewed. I didn't get a chance to listen to it because I was too busy buying books. He was interviewed by author Catherine Cavendish, who has written a trilogy that I picked up, starting with Wrath of the Ancients. This is book 1 of the Nemesis of the Gods trilogy. Again, this is one of those authors that was like, what kind of books do you like? And I said, I like weird, dark, good characters. Which is like, this is the trilogy that I would recommend to you. It's something to do with like gods and Cleopatra.
Ooh, interesting.
Like, weird, dark things. Because you said interesting, I'll give you like a brief blurb from the back. 1913, storm clouds gather over Europe, and in a basement in Vienna, an unquiet spirit stares. Adeline always dreamed of visiting the Austrian capital, so the chance to work there seems like a dream come true. But from the moment she sets foot in the elegant mansion that belonged to the late archaeologist Dr. Emmerich Quintilius, she senses a presence, one so menacing and evil, she fears for her sanity and her life. Strange noises from behind the walls, shadowy figures that cannot be there, hieroglyphics that appear on the wall, and an enigmatic portrait of a long-dead Egyptian queen. Quintilius had made the discovery of the century, so why did he hide it?
That does sound good.
And then that is followed by Waking the Ancients, and then the last one in the trilogy is Damned by the Ancients. So I didn't want to have the same thing that I had with the Elizabeth J. Brown, where I just picked up one and was like, oh, now I wish I had the others. So I picked them all up. Next, we have Destruction Unit by Alex Secam. This has a real like kind of like 90s paranoia thriller kind of vibe to it. I'm basing that mostly off of the cover. But yeah, City Hall has been infiltrated, the vultures have arrived, whole communities are up for grabs. So interesting. And then that came with this tiny little prequel, Eviction Unit, like teeny tiny, but that kind of came along with it, so pick those up. Right, at the start I mentioned there was an author that remembered which book I was reading. That is Chris Harrison. This is Dawn of the Demon
I like that cover.
It's a cool cover. This is the 4th book in a series that he's writing called Crooked Tales, and he's like each one tackles like a genre, like a subgenre within horror. So you've got one that's like very slasher inspired, one that's very like folk cult inspired. He said he's writing the 5th and last one in the series that's going to be very like apocalyptic inspired. But he said it is a series, so you can't just dip into like, oh, I like slasher, so I read that one. You'll be confused. Like, you have to follow them as they go. And like, this is a chunky book.
Or a normal sized book, as I would say.
To me,
I don't read a lot of really short books, so that.
Yeah.
Like, how many pages is that? Is it?
This is.
It is slightly chunky.
564.
Okay, yeah, that is a big book. It didn't look as big at first, but yeah, 500's pretty full on.
Yeah, but yeah, I need to start reading the series. I really do. It just sounds so interesting. I love that idea of the series kind of weaving through subgenres. So I really want to kind of see how he's done that, and like, because I don't really know a lot about the series. I don't know, is it the same characters that are going through? Like, I need to start reading it to find out. Especially knowing that there is a 5th one coming that's going to close it out. That, I think, knowing that it's going to be this like whole completed story as well makes me want to read it more. Next, we have this book by Matthew Cash called Run for Your Life. This is horror stories inspired by the Beatles.
Oh.
So it's another charity anthology, but kind of it makes sense, right? This being sold at Liverpool. And we have some names in this that we're going to recognise now. So we've got Jim Odie, C.S. Jones, we've got Elizabeth Brown, we've got Lisa Hutchinson, we've got N.J. Mars, we've got Lula Von Goth, we've got Killian H. Gore, we have Catriona Moat, we have Stephen Barnard, we have Dee McCluskey, there's Paul J. Kearns, Peter Caffrey. This is one of the things that I really like, right? Is this community where they're all contributing to these anthologies and kind of like working together. And I think these events are such a good way just for the authors to all kind of gather in one place and chat about various projects and whatnot that they're working on. And it's fun seeing them end up in books like this.
Oh, I finally found the book. There's a lot of books called Run for Your Life, but I finally found the right one, so I'm adding that to my wish list.
Yeah, and again, this is, I'd say a fairly, you'd probably say a normal sized book, but I'd say a little bit on the chunkier side. The page number for this, 499 pages.
Yeah, that's chunky.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a really cool idea. Horror stories inspired by the Beatles. That I really wanna read those.
Because I think as well that gives you such a broad range.
Oh, yeah, you've got so many ideas to pull from.
Yeah, like some of the titles here, I Want to Hold Your Hand. Already, if you put that within a horror context, brilliant.
Yeah.
You've got A Hard Day's Night, you've got Dear Prudence, Eleanor Rigby, you've got Helter Skelter, where the hell is in bold. She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. Yellow Submarine. Yeah, like Here Comes the Sun, I Saw Her Standing There. Just that idea of taking these...
just really funny when you think, oh, there's so many titles that just already sound creepy when you think about them in a horror context.
Exactly. I love it. Right, this is a... Okay. So this is by author Lee Richmond. I don't know. It's Tits and Teeth.
What does that say? Jaws was a...
Pussy. Jaws was a pussy.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm expecting this to be a kind of silly book, I'll be honest. I've got a couple of others by Lee Richmond I haven't read yet, but one of them is called Poltergary, playing on Poltergeist. And the cover is, you know, that really famous image from the Poltergeist of the little girl watching the TV?
Yeah.
And the TV's all like static. It's that, but she's flipping off the TV. So, yeah, I'm expecting fun silliness from that. Then we have Strauss in Love by Jack Greene. Again, I know nothing about this. A wealthy recluse with dark secrets has his world turned upside down when he falls for a woman who is his opposite in many ways.
Intriguing.
So yes, we grabbed that. Okay, so this is a name that you would have heard a couple of times in the anthologies. This is Stephen Barnard. The first one, this is such a cool cover, I think. Such a cool cover. It's called Griever's Wood.
Ooh, yeah, that is a cool cover.
That is a cool cover. I've got a couple of other books by him. That, again, I really want to try and get around to one of them before going to the event and just run out of time. Because there's a book that I picked up last time called No One Is Leaving. But at the event, I picked up the sequel, Not One Left. It's cool. That's a cool cover. I like the title.
It's like a horror movie cover.
Yeah, exactly. And the first thing here, the sequel to 2023's vampire thriller No One Is Leaving is here.
Oh, vampires.
I'm not going to carry on reading in case there's spoilers, but yeah.
Yeah, finding a vampire story, that's another thing that instantly makes me interested.
Yeah, see, it's such a shame that this is in the UK, because I feel like you would have easily found enough books that you'd have to be like, how do I get these on the plane back home?
So, unfortunately, a bit far to travel.
Yes. So we're nearly done now. I've only got 2 more authors to talk about. So one of these authors came from Belgium, I want to say, and posted a message on Facebook before the event saying, I'm going to bring some hardcovers just so I can gauge interest, and because I have to ship them with me in my luggage. Who wants one? And he listed out which hardcovers. And there was 5, and then another one which was one of his books with a French translation. I don't speak French, so I just messaged and was like, I want all of them except for the French one, please. So I picked up from Alan Shivers this Europa Halls or Europea Halls, the trilogy, a HorrorCon edition in this nice sort of like hard case. So we've got the first, the second, A Summer in Budapest, and the third one. Let's have a look at the covers, shall we? So we have, there's a bookmark in here as well. That's good to know. So we have this Europa Halls, again, very slasher inspired kind of cover. Then we have the second one, and then we have the third one. So picked those up. But that wasn't all, was it? You know, this is me we're talking about, so let me just put these back in. And like, here's the other thing is, and I don't know if this is the same or different for you, but I used to really struggle with hardback books, and I guess the sprayed edges or something happened, and now, especially at these kind of these like indie events, to me, if someone has their book in a hardcover, it shows that they've just put in that little bit extra like TLC, because I feel like doing a paperback release through Amazon, as we can see, is the standard for indie horror authors. But to then take that to the next level and be like, right, I'm going to do like a hardcover, I kind of just want to support that a little bit. I think that's interesting. These are there's such cool covers as well. So I also picked up Killer Vocals. That's a cool cover.
Is that about a band?
Right. I'll read the description. A new, fast-paced, campy pop culture slasher with a twist or two. When Greek sisters Themis and Hara find out they've made it through the auditions in search of a new international girl band, they're thrilled. The last stage before the final selection takes place inside a majestic mansion in the mountains of Sarajevo, in which 6 girls will battle it out until the finish line. When a brutal killer shows up, it soon becomes clear not everyone will make the cut.
Yeah. That sounds good.
So then I also had to pick up killer vocals too, of course. And then lastly, the Namaste slasher. Like, all these covers are cool. They all sound very like slashery inspired.
Are they the same covers as the paperbacks? Do you know?
That is a good question, and I think so, but I don't know for sure.
Let me check. What was the name again?
Alan Shivers, and you've got Killer Vocals. Probably be the one to check. There's a third one coming out, but unfortunately he didn't have any of the hardcovers available yet. I think it's coming out next month or so.
Similar. The sequel is like the same image but different colouring and surroundings, but it's still the girl standing there the same. So not as pretty. There is a hardcover, but it's quite expensive.
Right.
But if I like the book, I would be tempted. So hang on, how much is the ebook? Well, it's on Kindle Unlimited, and it's not telling me how much it is if you don't have Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah.
Which is weird because it usually tells you the normal price as well.
Yeah.
I will see, because the paperback's pretty pricey too.
Right.
Well, not pricey, but paperbacks are pricey now. And then the hardcover's like double the paperback, so yes,
So if
we'll see. If the ebook
price,
is cheap, then, because I haven't read him before, so but yes, I'm quite intrigued. I like those sort of music plot lines, whether it's a band or like a show thing. So yes, I will. Killer Vocals is going on my TBR list, and yes, I will see how much the ebook is. Or I'll get Kindle Unlimited for a month at some stage and try and like burn through a bunch of books that are available, because I know there's a lot I want to read that are available. So if I maybe dedicate a month to just reading ebooks and forget about my shelves, we'll see. Yeah,
your numbers for that month will look bad. But
yes.
Okay, so I have one more book to talk about. On purchasing this book, I got the 2 raffle tickets, happened to win that raffle, and that is why you can now see in the background behind me the little Pazuzu plush, the demon from The Exorcist. So that I won in the raffle. This book that I purchased, for reasons that I was told would become clear when I read the book, it came with a pigeon plush.
Wow. That's cool.
Did I need a pigeon plush in my life? I don't know, but I'm curious what reasons are going to become clear when I see this. Now, I will say this next book was my most expensive purchase of the day. But
you got a
my
pigeon.
kind of philosophy, I got a pigeon, and I got Pazuzu that I won out of it as well. So kind of worth it, I would say, definitely. But one of the things that I really like about these events is you get to go, and not only do you get to discover just these cool things that exist because people have just sat down and put in the time and effort to make them exist, but it's nice just supporting people that are following their dreams and doing it in a very personal, like face-to-face way, which is why I do quite like doing the one from each author, because I just think it's so cool that these people have put this art out into the world. And even if, like, I'll be honest, not all of these are going to be for me, because that's just the law of averages, right? There is no way the 50 plus books on this table are all going to be smashing it out of the park for me. But I think it's worth rolling the dice and supporting these people that are just willing to do this.
Yeah.
Now, this is the last one, which has come in this sort of like case. It's Air-Conditioned Nightmare, and basically this is the author's first book, and as a way of kind of, what's the right word here, like chronicling that, or not chronicling.
Oh yes, commemorating.
Yeah, he got 10 of these leather-bound copies made, which he's selling. I don't know if you can really see, but inside the box is artwork. And then we have the book itself. We have these sort of end pages. And it's all kind of like stitch bound as well. I don't know how well you'll be able to see on camera. But yes, so this is David K. Slater's book, Air-Conditioned Nightmare. This is, there's 9 copies of this being made, and he's lettering each one, and they're all going to spell out the word nightmare. This is the second one he's sold, so this one has the letter I written in it by him, which will be on one of these pages. Here it is. So I don't know how well you would see, but he's got the letter I kind of written there. Signatures by him and Joseph Sale, and then sort of dedicated and signed. Again, I just think it's cool that someone is like, do you know what? I've written a book. I want to get this made. He said like the profit he makes off of these, because they were so expensive to
I can
create.
imagine.
Yeah, he was like, I'm not making a lot of money out of it, but I just wanted this to exist. And that's what I respect about all of these authors, right? Is they all just go, I want something to exist in the world that is mine. So yeah, I do not have any qualms with supporting that. So that was my last and most expensive purchase. But it does come with a pigeon, and I have heard really good things about the book already. He did say that I think the ebook is available on Kindle Unlimited. So it's like, if you don't want to read this version, you can just read the ebook. But the way I look at it is, I like reading the fancy versions. Like, and again, back to what we were talking about at the start, where you're talking about fandom and, you know, different sort of categories of it, and how people represent their fandomness. I know some people kind of collect the collector's editions as keepsakes, and they don't want to read them. Whereas me, I'm like, no. I want to experience it. I want to actually...
Yeah, for me, it's about the books, not the value or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I was gifted the Folio Society version of Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and next time I read that, I will read that version so I can experience that version of it compared to the paperback that I read the first time. Yeah. So yeah, I don't care about keeping things. I'd be careful with them as far as not wanting to damage them or anything, but I'm not gonna try and keep them absolutely pristine and not touch them and whatever, because books are there to be read.
Yeah.
If I collected, like, you know, antique books and special things, then wouldn't read that. But I don't have the money for that, and I don't care. to pay the money to have those kind of books in my collection. But yeah, as far as affordable special editions and whatever, especially if they have illustrations and things too, because I want to experience them while I'm reading.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that
do you have a one book that you would pick as the book you're most excited to read first?
Probably The Air Conditioned Nightmare, to be honest. I just love that it exists. This super fancy, like ridiculously fancy edition. And like I said, I want to know what the pigeon is all about. So
I hope it's something that when you finished reading, it makes you like super happy to have the pigeon.
Yes, that is my hope as well. But yeah, so probably that one, and I'd say closely followed by Mark M.J. Greene's Love, Socks and Death. So were there any from that list? I know you said Killer Vocals.
Yeah.
But were there any that made their way onto your...
I can't remember now. There was a bunch. The Final Cut, because you do horror movie related things, I'm interested. What else did I add? There was that pretty anthology I added to my list, the black and white one.
Yeah, Bloody Hell, I think it was.
Yes.
Was the Run for Your Life.
Yeah, Beatles one. Yep. It came from the Pothole. I think they're the main ones. And there was something else. The Horror Movie Massacre, which is not in my wish list because I couldn't find it. So, but I wrote it down. So yes, I will look into that. But yeah, that seems books about music and horror movies. They're gonna grab my interest.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I will look forward to hearing you talk about them as you go through them and the ones that you picked up from previous events, because I don't know a lot about more extreme horror and getting into those kind of subgenres. So it's always interesting to hear you talk about all these books from authors that I haven't heard of, but I'm sure now I will get into reading some of them.
Well, I think that's the other thing that's kind of cool about these events, right, is what we have on this table here just is such a wide spectrum of horror. Like there's going to be a bunch of extreme horror, but there is also going to be a lot of like quiet horror, a lot of kind of like your supernatural stuff, your very like classic kind of inspired horror.
And there was that goth dread punk. Yes, I'm intrigued by that. So I didn't write that one down, but yes, I will be looking into that as well, because yes, gothic horror with an edge. I didn't know that was a thing, but yes, I'm going to research that subgenre. Yeah,
it definitely sounds intriguing, and I would say CC Adams, just a super chill guy. There is another one of his books that I picked up at the last event. Another one I really wanted to read before, but I just didn't get around to it, which is called Misery and Other Lines, and it is a bunch of short stories that were inspired by the London Underground, like the tube system. So yeah, that sounded really intriguing. This is the thing, there's so many books, and I initially wasn't planning to go to this event because it was so far away and I'd have had to get the train and all that kind of thing. And they have historically been doing the event every 6 months, but they said this one took 8 months of planning, so they're now only going to do it yearly. So super pleased I went, because I would be kicking myself if I was like, I'll just go in 6 months time, and then they're like, no, now it's a yearly thing. But two, I'm just so pleased that I did go as well, because it was such a good weekend. I'm very naturally introverted, so a whole weekend where it really was pretty much non-stop being around people, talking to people, on paper should be my idea of hell. But because they're all like-minded people, it's never hard to converse, and it's always interesting conversations as well. So I would say to anyone watching this, if you get the chance to go, and not just like an indie horror chapter event, I know in America they have a whole bunch of these as well. Some of the more famous ones, I think there's one called Books and Brew. There's a new one that's happening later this year called Massacre on the Mountain, which is taking place in the hotel where they filmed The Shining. If I had the money, I would go to that.
They do a film festival. Is it do they call it I can't remember if they call it the Overlook Film Festival, but yeah, they do a horror film festival there as well.
Yeah. I mean, they've got some of my favourite authors going to that. Aaron Beauregard, Daniel J. Volpe, Christopher Triana. Like, I'm so envious of... But again, I know I would have that problem if I would want to buy so many books. I'd be like, how... It was hard enough figuring out how do I get these back from Liverpool. How I would get them back from America would be an absolute nightmare. But if money was no object, that is the American event I would want to go to. But yeah, I would say to anyone watching this, if you do have an event that you can get to, I can't recommend it enough. You're bound to just meet a whole bunch of really friendly people, if nothing else, and hopefully you'll find some super interesting, super weird horror books that you can enjoy. That, you know, a whole bunch of these I would not even know existed if it weren't for these kind of events.
All right, that's a whole lot of new books hitting your shelves for April.
Yeah, at some point I need to sit down and update my spreadsheet and add all these books. I think in total it's 59 books I'm adding to my list from one day of book buying. That's bad. That's not good, is it?
But it's a special event, so it's not like you just went to a bookstore and randomly grabbed 59 books there.
That's very true. And now it's only once a year, so even more of a reason to...
And you have more time in between to read the new authors to see.
Yeah. Well, this was the thing, because I didn't think I was going to go to this one. I've been putting off, like, I was like, well, there are these authors that I really do want to get to, but I'll wait. And then I literally booked the hotel like 2 weeks before the event. I was like, oh no, now I need to start reading them. So that's why you'll see in my last wrap up and in April's wrap up, there's going to be a healthy representation from indie horror authors.
Nice. All right, we'll end it here because we've been going for a while to get through all these books.
Yeah, there was a lot to get through.
But it's been fun and lots of new authors discovered.
Yeah, and hopefully, one of these will be our next favourites because, and I'll end it with this, my absolute favourite book that I read last year, I went to that Canterbury event, Mark M.J. Greene came over, introduced himself, and he was like, look, you have to get this book, it's so good. And it was from a married couple on the table next to him, Jonathan Butcher and Michelle Von Eschen, have written a book together called Motel Sticks that I read. It was so good. I've probably spoken to you about Motel Sticks. If I haven't, a quick pitch for anyone that's watching this. Now, I've recommended this book to maybe 4 or 5 people and have had nothing but good kind of responses. I've recommended this book to someone that does not read horror and they liked it. And the reason why I say that is because the premise sounds on the more extreme side of things. So the backdrop, the setting to the plot is it's a not too distant future of America where necrophilia has been made legal, but it's governed. So you have to go to certain licensed establishments to engage in this act. So there are these motels that pop up around the country called necrotels where you can pay and hire dead bodies to sleep with. That's just the backdrop. Again, it sounds like it's on the more extreme side of things, and there are some nasty bits in there, don't get me wrong, but the plot is about this man who, his wife has committed suicide and she's donated her body to one of these motels. So he decides to go in undercover, pretend he's into all of this sort of stuff, to try and find her body, and try and kind of figure out why she would do this. Like, he's seeing it almost as like a personal attack. Like, why would she do this? So you've got this really compelling mystery embedded in this kind of messed up scenario. And it's so good. It's genuinely, I cannot recommend it enough. Motel Sticks, Michelle Von Eschen and Jonathan Butcher. It was my favourite book of last year, and I only found out about it because I went to one of these events and one of the authors recommended it.
Wow, there we go. So you might end up with even more than you thought if you get chatting.
You might end up with your next favourite read. And what more could you ask for?
Yeah, maybe your book of the year is on that table.
Yeah, well, we'll find out, hopefully.
Cool. All right, we are done. We're off to enjoy the rest of our weekend, and we'll be back with another video soon.
Thanks for watching.